Welcome, everybody, to our February 23rd City Commission meeting. We will call this meeting to order, and if you are able, please rise for an invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Jennifer?
As we begin this meeting, may we take a moment to quietly reflect together according to our own beliefs and intentions and contemplate how we may best serve the city. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jen. All right, we currently have a presentation on our agenda, but we're going to hold off on doing that because Shelby's going to be a little bit late. So we'll come back and do that. So now we'll move on to citizen input. Anybody wishing to come forward and speak to any item that's not already on the agenda, please feel free to do so. Give us your name and address for the record, and then you'll have 3 minutes. Come on down.
Hello. Hi, Nancy.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
First of all, I want to say it was great to see all of you on Saturday night at the Mardi Gras VIP tent. It was good to visit with you, and I think we had a wonderful event and look forward to many more. But my name is Nancy Ellen Hale, and I reside at 509 Ashley Drive here in Dunedin. But tonight, I just want to say a few words. As many people, well, there aren't that many tonight, but the ones who are here probably know that I'm involved with Bon Appetit and the management team. And you're probably aware that there has been a change at the restaurant. And it's a good change. And I'm just here to clarify that the restaurant does have new owners. There was a sale from Peter and Carl, as most of you understand. They've had that restaurant for over 47 years, so it was a big decision. But we are now under Big Claw management, which some of you may know, the original Krabby Bill's restaurant in Indian Rocks Beach is one of their main properties, and they have 7 others, give or take. I probably am a little off on that number. But at any rate, the original Krabby Bill's is the one that most people, I think, identify with. And the Loader family has owned them also for many years, 40 plus. So we're going into a new group of owners, but they're very much on track with what Peter and Carl had developed over all of their years, and it's been very, very memorable so far. We are the same fine dining establishment. We are not changing anything that way. In fact, there will be some improvements coming down the pike to make it even more memorable, which you'll notice. And aside from that, they are very involved in the community, and will be so in Dunedin to a great magnitude, and will be coming to these meetings as well. But I just wanted to speak for them tonight to know that this is a real partnership, and we look forward to many years ahead. Our staff is excited. They're really on board with it, and it seems like it was a very positive mood. So, at any rate, without further ado, I just wanted to say a few things like that and hope to see you down at the water. Thanks so much.
Very much. All right, very good.
Hi, good evening. David Ballard Geddes Jr. I live at 802 Georgia Avenue in Palm Harbor. A prominent lawyer in Dunedin here and his law firm was hired by my father to oversee my father's last will and testament. Months after my father's funeral, I was finally given a Xerox copy of a will from this particular lawyer, and to the best of my knowledge, this does not appear to be my father's will, nor does the signature on the will appear to be my father's signature. The signature appears to be a forgery. My mother seems to have dismissed my father's will in light of her own intentions and forged her signature in as my father's signature in on a copy of a document that is not my father's will. In all appearances, I do not recognize the signature as my father's signature. The signature appears to be my mother, accompanied by this lawyer, forging my father's signature on a will that is not my father's will. It appears both my mother and this lawyer have betrayed my father's last will and testament, trespassing on the dignity and dishonoring my father's namesake and his will. Based on Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 of this Constitution, I ask, within your 10 square mile area of the city, does this board promote business practices within the city that deliberately deceives and betrays their customers, that backstabs and dishonors the defenseless and abuses the structure of law in premeditated and perfunctory ways, using fraudulent business means, practicing in malicious legal undertakings, hoping for unscrupulous gains, monetary or otherwise, allowing businesses to embed themselves within the law only in the last resort, to abuse the law in a deliberate double-crossing and betrayal of whom such legal practice has been paid to protect and serve, fraudulently forging their livelihood on the double-crossing and backstabbing of those who are no longer alive to defend themselves. Should my mother have conspired with this attorney, corrupted and forged my father's will, they have committed a crime. To betray my father's last will and testament is to take the posture of warfare upon the namesake of my father and his will. I take this situation before me to be one of the most unacceptable and serious moments of my life, both within and without the confines of law. I see it as I see it. The law here has been gravely abused by those entrusted to uphold the law. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Welcome.
Thank you. This is my first time here. I'm a little embarrassed to say that I don't know any of you, but I have been doing my part in the community as a registered nurse of 43 years, serving the community and all the hospitals that I've worked at and the people. And I just consider myself a little busy to get involved with anything as important as local politics. So I apologize for that. I'm here today. My name
Give
is
us your
Pamela.
name and address.
Pamela Brown, 274 Tradewinds Drive, Dunedin. And I'm here today on behalf of our neighborhood. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the difficulties we've had with harassment. I personally was not aware of the level of what was going on. I have a photograph here of an open house, and at that open house, the tenant across the street brought in an upholstered couch, a woman that was very inappropriately dressed and has never been seen by me in the neighborhood before, laid on that couch all day, sunbathing herself during the open house. And I have lots of pictures. There were trash buckets that were emptied out on the driveway, all the glass and the trash, and there was laundry piled on top of another trash bucket so that you could see it from across the street where they were having the open house. And I was a little bit concerned about it. I know the gentleman has issues, and I try to support him in any way that I can. I am somebody that's very compassionate and empathetic to people that aren't acting correctly in our society. So I was very humbled by what he did and hurt, but I let it go. And it's only been in the past 2 weeks that I learned that he has engaged in some severe harassment in our neighborhood on individuals and homes. And so I wanted to come and speak as a nurse that knows a lot about mental illness and knows a lot about untoward behavior. This rises to another level, as you'll hear somebody else speak. What he's done is harass people, and it is with great thought. It's not something that's accidental because he is who he is, which is he likes to walk around in a bikini, he likes to wear pink lipstick. I have no problems with any of that. But what he does to hurt the neighborhood and the value of our homes and our feelings of emotional safety is why I wanted to come today, to let you know that it is a huge concern of mine. And I don't know where to go with this. We've gone to we have, I think, 14 pages of complaints. Thank you.
I'll let whoever else is here to speak to the issue, but then I'm going to turn to Jennifer. We're very well aware of the situation, and there are actions being taken, but she can describe all that after, because I think there's probably a few people here.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Good evening, everyone. This, too, is my first time addressing the commission. I'm not going to be as kind as Pam Brown, I can promise you. I live at 2481 Baywood Drive West in Dunedin. My property backs to John Kevin Harkin's property at 2482 Tradewinds. I'm going to start by saying I have bullet holes in my fence. I don't know what kind of bullet holes they are. I'm not a forensics technician, but all I know is that I do have bullet holes in my fence. I have a letter that I've composed. I'm just going to read excerpts in the interest of time. I'm addressing our local protectors and elected decision makers of the blight and disturbing and violent behaviors coming out of Harkin's property. Florida Statute 856.21, on a routine basis, Harkin allows homeless people to live in his backyard. I know this because I hear the moaning and groaning at night, the coughing, the rustling of tarps at 2 in the morning, all hours, if I have to let my dogs out in the middle of the night. That's beyond disturbing. So they loiter in the neighborhood, and we just don't feel safe in our own homes and property any longer. Within the past 3 weeks, my husband and I were continually cursed by the homeless people and Harkin while we were in our backyard. Somebody was saying, F you, you a-hole, I'm going to kill you. Delightful Dunedin. I witnessed Harkin and a friend attempting to get the attention of a little girl on her bicycle. I watched the situation. I made sure she got home okay. They were shouting at her. They were laughing. The little girl was very nervous, and they just proceeded to shout and laugh at her as she was riding by. Parents and grandparents, I don't think we want people like this in our neighborhoods. While driving down the street, this happens all the time, not only to me. He yells at us to slow down, and he yells profanities. He thinks he owns the block. He tries to control everybody. He yells at everybody. And he plays his music extremely loud on a daily basis. Today it was 3 times. My windows are vibrating because of this. And he shrieks at the top of his lungs. It's just beyond obnoxious. The fires, the bonfires. He builds very large bonfires. He burns what smells like toxic chemicals and other toxic materials. Our eyes are burning. We're coughing. We have to close up the house, of course. And 2 days later, we're still feeling nauseous, and we have headaches. So, and last thing, then I'll get to the closing. He stands in his front yard with his pants down. So there's nothing more I need to say about that. He threw a kitten over our fence into our backyard. And I just have to end by saying we have bullet holes in our fence, and we feel like we're just not being taken seriously by the police in the city. I think everybody's known about this guy for a long time, and nobody's doing anything. We feel very minimized when the officers say, well, there are people in the neighborhood who don't feel he's doing anything wrong.
Okay, thank you.
Come on over. Come on over to my house.
I didn't catch your name. I got your address, but I didn't catch your name.
Yes, absolutely. Vicki Clark, VICKI-CLARK.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to come forward and speak to this item before I turn it over to the city manager?
Hello.
Welcome. Name and address for the record?
My name is Matthew Moon. I live at 2490 Baywood Drive. I moved into Baywood Shores about 5 years ago, thinking that it would be a nice, quiet little community near the water. And for the first 5 months, until the neighbor next door was released from a mental state health facility, it was. At first, he had a living guardian or caretaker and was taking his medication, but shortly after arriving home, this all changed. In the last 4 years, his behavior has become increasingly manic and hostile and malicious to the entire community. He has a rotating group of drug addicts and vagrants living in tents in the backyard. I found them passed out in my garden bed, been threatened multiple times, and constantly find chicken bones in my backyard, as do all the other neighbors surrounding, with the purpose of causing harm to our animals. These days, we don't have the luxury of waking up and listening to the seagulls or the osprey call out. Instead, we deal with him screaming obscenities and threats to the neighbors, or just people driving by. He blares pornography at full blast, exposes himself regularly, or will just come outside without any pants or underwear on while children are in the streets. Can't tell you how many times I've witnessed him urinating in the front yard, or worse. He plays music at all hours of the night, and washes trash and glass into the gutters and surrounding driveways on an almost daily basis. And the list just goes on. Most people avoid our street entirely when taking their dogs for a walk for these reasons. He's threatened to kill me along with most of the other neighbors, and even went so far as to point a realistic-looking pellet rifle at one neighbor while saying he'd murder him. He shoots holes in people's windows and fences, recently started peeping in a window's woman at the end of the cul-de-sac. Just last week, he was out there once again threatening to kill that same neighbor and his newly married wife. For the life of me, I can't understand how one person can wreak so much havoc on a community and still not be remanded into a mental health facility or even have a guardian looking over them, at the very least making sure he takes his medication. We're living through a real-life nightmare and have been for years. Most of the neighbors directly surrounding his house have already given up and moved, each in turn accepting a much lower sale price for their properties just to escape this situation. Others are having trouble selling at all because he goes out of his way to sabotage and speak to prospective buyers and when he sees them pulling up to the house. The reality is he's completely unfit to live on his own and care for himself. He's not only a danger to himself, but the entire community. He refuses to take his medication, refuses any sort of assistance or help. And at what point is enough enough? Apparently not until he actually snaps and does something worse. I could sit here for another hour and still not come close to listing off all the horrors our neighborhood has to face on a daily basis, and I understand some of you might be shocked or even find it hard to believe that all of this has been going on anywhere around here, and especially in Dunedin of all places. Yet here we are after all these years suffering while we watch this man become more and more unhinged and unwell. My question is, would this still be happening if somebody from the city council or sheriff's office lived next door and had to deal with this completely unacceptable behavior? Or would this have been nipped in the bud years ago? I think we all know the answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to come forward? Mona.
My name is Victoria Schomburg, and I'm an officer of an LLC which owns the house across the street from John Harkin, aka Murph, and the address of the home is 2479 Tradewinds Drive, Dunedin. And they've touched on some of the things. I just want to tell you about this morning. I set my alarm for about 6:15 in the morning so that I can put my trash out in the morning, not at night. Because his favorite day of the week is garbage day. And he's told me that himself. So I had some pallets out there, I didn't want to be looking at them in his front yard for the rest of eternity. So I noticed when I woke up, it was dark. And I'm like, oh, he's out at the neighbor's house because there's some fencing. So I'm like, I'm not putting it out yet. So I waited till 6:50, 10 minutes before the truck comes to pick it up. Put it out front because it's heavy pallets. I hear the truck coming, and sure enough, as I open the door, he's taking my last pallet to his driveway. And I'm like, Murph, what are you doing? He's like, well, you had it out as garbage. Yes, I know the rules about that, but I just want you to know that this is happening all over the neighborhood. And another thing that hadn't been mentioned is safety towards, safety against things flying into other people's houses when he doesn't properly secure things before windstorms or hurricanes. The other neighbor mentioned that when we were threatened with a hurricane coming, thank God it didn't come this way. He did not trap anything down or move it from the front yard, and he's got a whole assortment of stuff out there that can just fly in and break windows or hurt people or whatnot. So I would like to look at having you introduce some new statutes or whatnot for the number of things that aren't like secured, like living plants or whatever before hurricanes, so that people can avoid having stuff fly into their homes, especially my home, being across from his. Anything can kill my home. You know, he's got hundreds of items in his front yard. So that is one thing that you could change if it's not already on the books, and I just don't know about it yet. But people do need protection from flying objects. So those are just two of the issues, and you know, I'd appreciate any help that you could give to us. Everybody is frustrated. There's only a number of us here, but in heart, there are many. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay, so just real quick, we are all very aware of what's going on over there. We've been aware since last year, and our team has been working through the, you might say, the confines of the law. We have to follow the law. Might not like the laws, but we have to follow them, and they have been doing things. And I assure you that the things they're doing would be the same if it were on my street or yours. I promise you that. So Jennifer, why don't you fill everybody in on what's been going on and what we can and can't do in next steps.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. The first thing that I want to say to all of you is that we are alarmed, and I empathize with all of you. From the first time that I got the email from Cynthia Moon, who's Matthew's mother, I believe, and that was on December 5th, we have been meeting consistently with staff to remedy the situation, to establish the steps moving forward to address this in a more comprehensive manner than we have been able to address it before. It is alarming, and hearing what the residents have to say. And I do have George Kinney in the room with me in the chambers, and he is the Director of Community Development, and Code Compliance is under George, so he's hearing you. We have Deputy Skypack, and we have Sergeant Todd Green, who's new to our North District, with us today. So I want to kind of give you an overview of how we're approaching this. It's kind of a two-prong approach to the situation and some next steps. As the mayor had mentioned, we need to do what we need to do in the confines of the law, and there's always due process in any code compliance situation. I know what you're saying. Where's our due process, right? I mean, and I hear that. I understand. But regardless, we are, everything we do is framed within the Code of Ordinances that allows us to do what we're doing and the code compliance process. In May 10th of 2021, the property owner was cited for accumulation of trash and debris. That fine, those liens capped, and we cap fines. They capped at $10,000. They were, we received the email then from Ms. Moon. I did, I think the commission did too, describing the situation, very alarmed. I did empathize with Ms. Moon, especially her son lives there, and I have a son about the same age, so I thought I would hate that too. I would really, you move to a property, you expect to have a certain quality of life, and it's not there for you. And so we're doing our best to address it. December 9th, then, we met as staff to kind of form a path moving forward, and it was a Human Resources Liaison, Teresa Smalling, she's our liaison to the Sheriff's Office. It was George and his code compliance staff, our deputy building official as well, and myself. And we had decided at that point that our path moving forward was to again cite Mr. Harkin. We had to give him the opportunity to cure the situation with the trash and debris, and we did do that on December 30th. Deputy Skypack issued a notice of violation as a repeat violation of $500 a day to the property owner. That case then was taken to the Code Enforcement Board on February 7th. They found the violation. I can get into the process, but regardless, and that was a $500 a day fine. And again, that capped as well at $20,000. And so the property owner was not at that meeting. So as a result of the capping of the fines and the repeat violation, this opens an avenue for us moving forward to seek additional remedies. I'm really not comfortable with discussing on the dais what those remedies are, but I would offer to meet with all of you to talk about the path moving forward. I have a meeting that was already scheduled actually with city staff tomorrow morning, as a matter of fact, tomorrow morning, right, George? Yeah, to discuss what, Monday? Monday, okay, to discuss what those options are, and then if you don't mind, thereafter I'll reach out to you. I'll come to your property or your neighborhood, or you can come here, whichever you'd rather do, and I can describe to you what we're going to do moving forward. This actually is a operational issue, which means the city commission is really out of it. We enforce the code, meaning staff, city manager's office, code, community development enforces the code. We have been also very active, not only in the code compliance aspect, but also with the sheriff's office. I've discussed it with our North District Commander, Captain Jackson, many times. I know Lieutenant Tim Kelly is also involved, and you've met him. I think you met him on Tuesday. Deputy Skypack is here. And I did forward to Ms. Moon an email that was provided to me from the sheriff's office, and they can certainly speak for themselves, but regardless, and I'll just read this, if I may, into the record so the commission knows. This is from Captain Jackson. There have been no further calls for service, meaning, and I know that there's a reluctance to call for service because of repercussions. I understand that, but it places the deputies in a very difficult position because, you know, they can't, if they don't hear the call for service, when certain events occur, then they really can't react to it properly the way that they need to. And I can ask Deputy Skypack to speak to that. But anyway, there have been no further calls for service at the residence, and this was a couple days ago, right, as a result of Ms. Moon's email to me. Since our last meeting, deputies assigned to the city and CPOs, community policing officers, continue with directed patrols. And that's when a directed patrol is when a deputy is instructed to go to that particular place multiple times a day, sometimes park, sometimes drive by, but it gets an additional level of service, if you will. So there have been 32 directed patrols since January in that area, and I think that you all had said that you'd seen them there. With the most recent last Tuesday night, and that was from 9:49 to 10:11, and there was no activity noted at that time. As you know, the CPOs, community policing officers, remain active in the area. We have reached out to the former guardian. The guardianship was discontinued by the court, and so we did reach out to the former guardian. She had said that she would get back to us. She was going to visit the property owner, kind of assess the situation, get back to us, and we have not heard back from her. And she's not obligated to do that, you know, unfortunately. So I know that you met with Lieutenant Kelly, Deputy Skypack, on site on Tuesday. I think Ms. Clark, you know, was there, and you met with them to you know, kind of address some of your issues. And so, as I said, we have some instruments available to us now that we've exhausted the notice of violation. We gave him an opportunity to cure. He did not cure. And so from a code compliance perspective, we're moving on to the next steps. And as I said, I will reach out to you next week, and we can set up a meeting to discuss what those next steps are. You know, as far as the harassment goes and those things, that's the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office, and I would defer to them as far as activities, you know, in those terms. But we are strictly, from the city's perspective, on the code compliance aspect of it. So,
Do you want the sheriff, one of the deputies, to come forward and speak to the harassment part?
can you speak to that, Deputy Skypack or Sergeant Green?
Just what should they do when those things happen?
Yeah, so I'll give kind of a blanket statement. I've worked in Dunedin and for law enforcement over about 4 years now in different capacities. I've been well aware of John Harkin for those 4 years. I've spoken with him more times than I can even count. I'm aware he has mental health issues. I'm aware of the state of his yard, all that stuff. As far as our power is concerned with him, just as they have to work within the confines of the law, we do as well. As much as everyone would love to maybe see him be put back into a mental facility, see him get help, there are ways we have to go about doing that. We have things called the Baker Act. We have criteria we have to follow that he doesn't always meet. As far as the harassment goes, damage to property, exposing himself, everything on your list, I'm not trying to minimize everything. I understand he does all that, but we need to have calls on that. We need to have reports. I know you guys might be a little bit afraid. Nobody wants repercussions, but this stuff is happening anyways, regardless of whether you're calling or not. And a paper trail, calls, all that stuff means a lot. When we go in front of them, they have meetings with you guys, and we have all these instances of what he's doing. And so we have director patrols saying we're going out there. We have 50 reports from last week saying he walked out and did this and did this and did this. As far as harassment goes, that's a case-by-case basis. I can't sit up here and play the what-if game for the next 30 minutes about what if this and what if that. If he's harassing you guys, give us a call. We'll come out. If we can do something, we can. And if we can't, at the very least, we might be able to document it so we can use that as a further case for anything. Do you have a question?
I was just going to say, I was given conflicting information at the North Depot walk-up a few weeks ago. I walked up there to state that there was harassment, death threats, a fire, etc. And the officer at the walk-up at the North Station indicated, no, you just keep a log of these things at your house. You don't have to call for everything. And I want to highlight this because if the city council and the police officers or the sheriff's department says, well, we don't feel like enough people are complaining, people are getting conflicting information, and I think this is important for everyone to hear this at the same time.
I understand that. Unfortunately, a lot of that does come from our discretion as deputies because different people that may not have the same knowledge of the situation that I might have working here for so long could say something like that. But usually what I can tell you is what I tell everyone, use your best judgment when calling us. If it's an emergency, you think you're an immediate threat, such as when he had pointed a replica firearm at you, and I believe he was arrested for that as well during that instance. If you believe there's an immediate threat, call 911. If you have noise complaints, if you have vandalism, if you have him walking out exposing himself, if he's not walking out exposing himself, call 911. If you have a delayed complaint, noise, whatever, you have our non-emergency number, you can call that. We'll get out there when we can, and it's kind of the same process repeating over and over again.
Okay,
Good.
thank you. Okay, so Jennifer, you're going to meet with these fine folks Monday or whenever is convenient for all of you?
After I meet with staff.
After you meet with staff?
Yes.
Okay.
Just a comment. So there was an extreme case years ago, probably in the 2000s, the Butterfly House. Some of you guys remember
Yeah,
the Butterfly House? I don't know if you talked about that, but I know that Tom Trask at the time took a very unique legal action.
Yeah, we did.
Okay,
And
so I don't know
she's
if
aware of it.
Okay, I just want to make sure you're aware because I know at the time it was that kind of level of harassment and
Yeah.
extremity, so, okay.
Yeah.
Yep,
Thank you.
and that's what they're going to talk about.
Mayor, and just one final thing, because I'm trying to give the neighbors a comfort level that we are taking this seriously, we are looking into it. We've looked at the taxes, and he's up to date on his taxes. We've looked at the utilities, he's up to date on his utilities, and he's using potable water. So there's plumbing in there. There's not that, minimum housing code is not an issue here at all. We're looking at the consumption of the water. And finally, that it is homesteaded, the property is, so the city's rights are limited in those terms as well with a homesteaded property. So, yes, Mayor, I will reach out to you as soon as we're ready, and staff will be there to talk to you. And I'm going to ask the Sheriff's Office to sit in with us again. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, we will jump back to presentations, because I see Shelby's here. We have the Toronto Blue Jays Welcome Back to 2023 proclamation. I'll turn that over to Commissioner Franny.
All right, Shelby, come on down. And you can bring your son, too, if he wants to come.
Did you win tonight?
I had a practice.
Oh, I had a practice.
And Dad's the coach.
You gotta practice.
You gotta practice in anything, right? So, welcome back, Toronto Blue Jays 2023. Whereas the Toronto Blue Jays played their first game at Grant Field in 1977, beating the New York Mets 3-1, and Dunedin has proudly been their spring training and minor league home ever since. And whereas Toronto is the only major league franchise to have only one spring training home, in this 47-year partnership and friendship has contributed to the economic well-being of Dunedin, the entertainment of our residents, the athletic development of our children, and the overall quality of life in our city. And whereas generations of Canadians have made Dunedin their home away from home, we love our Canadian friends, and many visitors have embraced spring training. And whereas the annual spring training event has greatly contributed to Dunedin's and Pinellas County's economies with fans visiting our shops and restaurants, and whereas under ownership Rogers Communication, Mark Shapiro, President and Director of Florida Operations, and General Manager Shelby Nelson, we hope this trend will continue as Major League Baseball is very important to the state of Florida, Pinellas County, and Dunedin. Now, therefore, I, Maureen Mulfraney, by virtue of the authority vested in me and on behalf of the entire City Commission, do hereby welcome back the Toronto Blue Jays to spring training in Dunedin and encourage all citizens of Dunedin to catch the Blue Jays fever and cheer on our home team. They are our home team. As they begin their journey toward another championship, ending up in the World Series. I added that, but
Of course, yes.
we hope to see everyone at TD Ballpark for the Blue Jays opening game on Sunday, February 26th, against the New York Yankees, who, apologies to New York people, but let's beat the Yankees bad.
What do you think of the Yankees?
They suck.
Oh,
Yeah! Good job there, buddy. All right.
You gotta love just openness, right? All right.
kids can say anything. I don't know where you learned that from.
My
He's
son
heard
would've
that
said
in the
the
house.
same.
That in the house somewhere.
Thanks for having me, and sorry for being a little bit tardy, but taught him to never miss practice. So
Coaching baseball is important.
absolutely, especially in this city. It's been a great spring training so far. It's been nice to not have to think about masks and other things. Having the Canadians back in town, driving back here from practice and going through downtown and seeing all the schedules that we didn't put up, but other people put up for us, and the welcome back things and the banners around town. It definitely has a great feel to it. The excitement for spring training is here for sure. Last week and I saw a lot of you, if not all of you, at a bunch of our events last week, from the governor's dinner, where we had the commissioner of baseball, Governor DeSantis, commission, and a lot of baseball players there, including Arcito Gaston, who won an award for Legends of Baseball. We had all 15 teams from around Grapefruit League with their managers and their GMs in town for meetings at our player development complex with the media. We had 60 different media members that were here for that. There was also a rules presentation, as Major League Baseball has a few new rules, all that I love, that I've instituted this year, including the pitch clock, which you'll see being used in spring training and then throughout the season. And it was just a really good week. And then we capped it off with the Welcome Back Blue Jays event, which was different this year, but it looked like it was a huge hit. It was packed inside a TD ballpark with golf carts and everything else. So I know everyone had a good time. We're excited to do that again, and I think that was a really cool event for everybody. Again, this is my 14th spring training, which I'm kind of shocked about, but it's been, I'm really excited for this year. Opening day, as you said, will be Sunday, March the 26th versus the Yankees. We are February. I'm already thinking about the end of spring training, I guess. It's over by then. February the 26th, and we are at standing room only right now. So, a crowd is back. It's going to be, I believe, will be the largest crowd since I've ever been here, at least since the late 90s, and I don't remember what the crowds were like back then and different attendance structure and stuff, but we're really excited about the season ahead. I want to thank the commission for all the support. Vince Gizzi and his team from the from Parks and Rec Department, all the people we deal with, including, I put some names down here because Dunedin Fire Rescue and Michael Handoga, Danny Costello, and Chief Jeff Parks that helps us out quite a bit throughout the year in our ballpark. Pinellas County Sheriff Department, Lieutenant John Luckett, Sergeant John Dobson, Greg Danzing, Sergeant Killian, Brian Kamadeke, and the lead deputy of Dunedin Community Policing. So I just want to thank everyone, as everybody is a part of spring training. We get to see the entire sheriff department that comes around, our local sheriff team that comes out, our EMS, a lot of City of Dunedin, Park and Rec, and others that are coming out, and it's a real community event. So I've seen it grow over the years, and super excited for the 16 home games that we have, and hopefully everybody will join us.
Hooray. Yes, we will be there. Thank you again for the welcome back.
Sorry.
I was just going to say thank you again for the welcome back event. It was. I think we all really enjoyed it. A lot of people came out.
Expectations too, and just to add to that, I know that it was the goal, jointly of putting it together, was to really make people feel a part of the stadium, welcome to the stadium, see the stadium. This stadium is your stadium. This is a community stadium, and I think it really achieved that. And I think I bet it'll be twice as big next year.
I think it will be.
Yeah, word of mouth, right?
Yeah. No.
Play ball.
I like it. Yay! Sue wants to take a picture of you two. Okay. Everybody except Jeff.
Jeff was always Mr. Theme, you know?
We'll hide him.
Sorry, Shelby, no offense. No, it's okay. As long as it's not pinstripes.
That's funny. All right, great. All right, terrific. This way, we'll take a few when you're all ready. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, great, thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
Good job, Ben.
Thank you.
Good job, buddy.
Thank you.
Good job, buddy.
Have a good night. Yay. Okay. All right, now we'll move on to action items. The first reading of ordinance 2303, historic landmark designation. There is a staff request to table this item. They'll bring it back at a later date, so can I have a motion to table?
So moved. Second.
Vice Mayor Torga and Commissioner Gao, thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous. Okay, then we have the second reading of ordinance 2301, deleting and revising Chapter 62 sales, Article 2 and Article, I think that's 4. Jen, can you please read ordinance 2301 by title only?
Certainly. Ordinance 2301, an ordinance of the City of Dunedin, Florida, deleting and revising Chapter 62 Sales, Article 2 Peddlers, Solicitors, and Canvassers, and Article 5 Handbills of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Dunedin, Florida, in their entirety, providing for codification, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Okay. Commissioner Walker, I think that might be your first one. Is it your first one? Maybe your second? Okay. All right, Commissioner Walker and Commissioner Franny. All right. Jen?
Just that this ordinance was previously provided to the commission for its consideration on January 26th, where it passed on first reading. Since first reading, the ordinance has not changed and is being offered tonight for the commission's consideration.
Okay, any questions for Jen?
Nope.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Anybody wishing to come forward and speak to this item, please feel free to do so. All right, come back to the commission. Any final comments from anybody?
No, not to me.
Basically, this is going to help us with the, well, with a lot of different issues, but especially the issue of gawking outside of a shop and trying to grab you and bring you in places, because we know that's been a problem in a couple of spots. So, all right, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Gao.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Torga.
Aye.
Commissioner Franny.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Mayor Bugowski.
Aye, and that motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, then we have the award of bid for pedestrian safety crossing improvements for $66,000 and some change. I will look to Bruce.
Good evening. Bruce Worth, Engineering. And the item I'm presenting you tonight is to award bid number 221211 for the pedestrian safety crossing improvements in the amount of $66,553.30 to Traffic Control Products of Florida out of Tampa. This contract will address 7 existing crossings that you have. 4 of those are on Edgewater and 3 on the Causeway. They're all existing crossings. They have the lighting, but they do not have the pattern stamping that we're going to apply. So we're starting here. We're going to go out throughout the city, and you know, where we don't have that, this will be the same approach. And then some of them have sort of faded, and also over time we're going to refresh those. But very simply, if you haven't seen that, they'll go out and they'll actually take and they'll stamp it. They'll do the imprint, and then they'll cover it with a paint coating that meets FDOT standards for weather resistance, skid resistance. We'll do the proper striping and
And it'll look like brick, right?
It'll look like brick.
So make sure you, when you're over there on Edgewater, the closest location to Deborah's house, make sure you go knock on her door and
Okay.
show her that you're
Will
doing
do.
it.
Have her come out there.
This is something she has worked on for a very long time,
Yes.
so. Deborah, if you're watching, we got you, girl. All right, any questions on this?
I have just one. Bruce, I just noticed that the low bid is quite a bit separated from the other bids. So, just, why? I mean, are we just being lucky, but they can do all the tasks, or?
I'm honestly not the project manager.
Oh, okay.
But I did do I signed the plans. I honestly didn't look at that closely, but we have reached out to this individual because this has been delayed for several months and making sure they're still going to honor the price. They've done it before, so they
they're
indicated they
up
would.
to
So
it.
I'm not sure why there were that big of a discrepancy between it, but
Fair
we're
enough.
comfortable?
Yeah, I mean, as long as you guys are comfortable, they got,
Yes.
they got it, just,
Right.
sounds good, thank you.
Commissioner Gao said you had one?
Yeah,
They probably were unhappy.
thank you very
when I
much.
saw it.
Yeah, Bruce, I just can't remember, you mentioned the lighting, so all of these crosswalk areas have safety lighting?
They have the flashers and the approach striping is there. You lead up to it, you'll see that it tells you something's going to happen in advance. So everything's really in place. It's just a matter of properly stamping, painting, and striping. It'll look like the crossing that we have down there by Wilson. If you've seen that,
Yeah.
that's a little small one. This will be, but it'll look like that.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay. Anyone wishing to come forward and speak to this item? Okay, can I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Thank you.
Okay, Vice Mayor and Commissioner Gao, any final comments from anybody?
Thank you.
Yeah, exciting,
Oh, Deborah?
yeah. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Bruce. Okay, now we have, our next item is the Equity Study Commission appointments. Jennifer, you came forward with some appointments that were from across the community?
We did, Mayor, and thank you. And actually, George Kinney worked with Bob Ironsmith to reach out to some members of the community to see if they were willing to serve on the Equity Study Committee or Commission. And that commission needs to be seated. It's required by statute when we change the rates for our business tax receipts. And so George and Bob worked hard to find folks from different corridors, was kind of the approach that they took. You have, a few of you during agenda review had pointed out to me that there are two from the CRA. I would actually recommend that you appoint, there are 6 seats, there are 5 seats on the Equity Study Commission. If you appoint 5 and 1 alternate, I would recommend that you allow staff to flip a coin on those 2, and it would be 1 person from the CRA instead of 2. So, we thought, and then the other one would be an alternate. So, I think that this is a good group, and as I said, they're appointed by, they're a disparate group in terms of their vocation and their business, and also we wanted to represent, different corridors in the city.
Okay, any questions for Jennifer? Any public input on this? All right, can I have a motion to approve the list as submitted?
So moved.
Okay, Commissioner Walker, is there a second? Commissioner Gao, any final comments? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
And then we have a Charter Review Committee direction. When we appointed our Charter Committee a few meetings back, we talked about if there was anything that we wanted to ask the committee itself to take a special look at. So now's the time to talk about that. Vice Mayor, I'll start with you.
I have, after consideration, I have nothing to add to it other than for them to do the review.
Okay. Commissioner, anything in particular?
Ditto. I mean, you leave it up to the committee, let them
Yeah.
decide. I think the charter is within reason. They could review the whole thing, I think, without much impact.
Okay. Anything
Yeah, I'm
from
going to
you?
ditto. I think, just give a general overview and give their thoughts.
So, yeah, I had a chance to review the committee report from the last time it was done, 2016. The only thing, there's nothing specific in the charter itself. I would just say the methodology that the group followed in the last go-around was solid, and I just would encourage them to,
Yeah, go through it the same way.
yeah, so that's all I've got.
And Jen, you'll be the one leading that, right? You and maybe George, or I don't know, you? It's you and Rebecca, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they'll have the legal perspective as well as how long does it take to advertise, they'll have both pieces there and they'll guide them to do that. So very good. Okay.
Look at you doing your homework, look at you.
Oh, I read the charter too.
Yeah, no, you have to.
Yeah, no,
I looked at
reread
it too, and
That's
I
why
didn't,
pulled that up.
I didn't see anything that I thought already, it feels like just yesterday that they reviewed it. It wasn't,
Yeah.
but it does feel like it, so,
I have the charter under my pillow.
okay. Well, I have the comp plan under my
Oh, yeah, right.
pillow,
I have
so.
the Constitution under my.
Come on down, Dave. Do you want to speak to direction about our charter review committee?
I would like to speak about the charter. We're all familiar with Johnny Depp's Pirates of the Caribbean movie.
Uh-huh.
And he had a compass that pointed basically to where he wanted. So he'd charter based on what he wanted. When I read Pinellas County Home Rule Charter there in section 2.04Q, it mentions a transfer of function and power. And I'm thinking, well, if this government has the capacity to transfer functions and power to that government, and it's basing itself on some sort of interlocal cooperation act from section 2.040 or something like that, brings in the Interlocal Cooperation Act would bring in reference to Chapter 163 of the Florida State Statutes referencing the Interlocal Cooperation Act of 1969. Then we have a very long-standing political government within a government, wolf in sheep's clothing, Trojan horse kind of a political setup. If this government's being used to transfer function and power to that government, that's aiding and abetting an insurrection. So
We don't have that. You'll be happy to know we do not have any of that.
I have issues with the Pinellas County
There you
charter.
go.
So, if anything relative of the charter in Dunedin here is with that, I wanted to
No.
bring that aware to you.
Sure.
That's an issue to focus in on as far as the county charter
Sure.
is concerned. So
Okay,
for
thank you,
letting me
Dave.
share.
Yep, we don't have that problem at all. We're low on the totem pole. We can't transfer power anywhere. Not that we'd want to anyway, but
It's to our citizens, and that's.
yeah. Okay, well, there is no direction, just good luck. Take a look at it. Be nice to our new city attorney and our city clerk, and so there's no need to vote on anything. All right, then we have the proposed agenda for March 9th, which there are changes requested, adding Michael Nagy, an action item of IT equipment and software purchases, and Resolution 2304, amending the marina user fees. So with those two, we also have two annexations on there, so. All right, anything else?
Nope, that was the two.
Okay.
This may be a workshop item, but can we get an update on where we stand on the Edgewater to Alt 19 crosswalk down there? I know the flashing lights are up, but,
Okay, give me a minute, let me vote on this, and
okay.
I don't think Jorge's here today, is he? I can give the update that I know, but you probably want more detail. All right, let me have a motion on this agenda.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
Commissioner Franny, and, are you trying to shut us up over there? I got you over there. Okay, Commissioner Franny and Vice Mayor Twonka. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. At this point, what we're waiting for is the street light to put there. I don't think it's been erected yet. I haven't been through there in the last week. I went through it week before. And we know that the crosswalk is there, the push button flashers, the flashers ahead of the game in either direction, notifying people there's a crossing zone. I think we're still waiting on the street light, which makes it dark, and I don't know the status of it.
It was installed.
It was? Oh, okay.
There's one adjacent to Victoria Place, and actually now we're looking at a shield for
'Cause
that
it's so
street
bright.
light. Yeah, because it is shining into the windows in Victoria
But I
Place.
thought it was going to be at the marina side. That's where I thought it was going.
I'm not sure if there's an additional one there.
But I mean, I thought that's where it was.
They would have put them
All right,
both
so
in.
you'll let us know. As far as any permanent intersection things, according to Forward Pinellas and FDOT, they're not going to rush it. I mean, they'll look at it in the 5-year work plan, and it's not in this 5-year work plan, which means you have to look at it over this course of the year, find out what happens, and then it would go into the next 5-year work plan. Because there are a whole bunch of other safety issues that literally have lost lives that come before us. So that's the best I can do. Believe me and Dave fought the fight. We put it out there. FDOT was there at the meeting at Fort Pinellas when we talked about it, so they know where we stand.
The only concern that I have, and because the flashing light is very visible when you're proceeding basically south on Alt 19 and making the left onto.
Which is that's the worst.
Yeah, no, absolutely, because that's the blind spot.
Right.
But the visibility when you're coming north is not as good.
I don't disagree with you. Let's monitor that, because I was coming home from my Forward Pinellas meeting, coming right down there to look, and I couldn't see it until I got almost up on it, which was different than the other direction.
You mean at night or both?
No, well, I was coming during the day.
Yeah, I just came during the day.
I came during the day, but I didn't see it, and there were people crossing, so I mean, I knew.
Right.
You can see the flashing light obviously better at night. You can see it. And at day is really what, there's not a lot of signage. You don't really get an appreciation for what's going on the other side over there.
Yeah, because you're looking at the park, you're looking at the building in front of you, you're looking at other things.
Yeah, so, anyway, it is the flashing light is in the most critical area. That is true, at least from my opinion. And so.
Jennifer, maybe.
I'd like to make a comment if I can about the light, then if we're going to talk about it. Thank you very much. I've spoken to the city manager from the very beginning about what I thought a solution was. I also happened to run into David Gwynn in another situation and spoke with him about it. And that solution is untenable. I don't believe that we should support that at all, and we should register a huge complaint at this point in time.
Which solution?
The one that exists right now.
Oh, yeah, no. It's not the end all to be all. It is
No, it's not only that,
Yeah.
it's fully unacceptable. Let me give you 2 examples. I've discussed this with the city manager. I'll try to be brief. So I call that the S-turn. And we've discussed this S-turn since 2008 in our planning, some of our planning cycles. And what has occurred, this actually happened one day, and the very next day, something else happened. What happened was a tractor trailer was heading north, coming into the S-turn, and wanted to take a left, and wanted to go down and services a client on the left. So he's now crossing the sidewalk. The people there had pushed the button, so now the button is flashing. Now nobody can move, and they all sat there. He doesn't dare back up. Some people started walking behind him. People were trying to decide what they wanted to do. Meanwhile, now we're all back. This just happened. It just happened. And people are backed up all behind me. I'm only halfway through the S-turn. This went on for a solid minute of people darting in and out of the traffic there. And I'm saying to myself, the pedestrians all have to get across on the other side of the street. And then you resolve all of the problem. And until that happens, and I told the city manager I was going to bring this up at some point in time to us here, we have to do something about that. This is not the solution at all. The solution is to move everybody over to the other side of the street the very next day. This is the truth. This is what happened. The very next day, I'm going down there again, and I'm right in the middle of the S-turn, and people started crossing and kept crossing and kept pushing the light, and we were just sitting there, and the whole thing got all jammed up, the whole intersection got jammed up. And then a lady came with about 15 kids, and she was far enough away that the light had stopped blinking, but I knew she was going to push it. She ran up and pushed it, and these kids were trailed all the way back to the restaurant. And now here they came. And I thought to myself, somebody is going to do something here crazy, and it's not going to work out good. But the point is, they need to put a barrier up there that the people have to go on the other side of the street, cross down, and then cross over into the park. And I only go through this enthusiasm because from safety and security is my #1 job. And we should not accept this as a remedy. This is not a good remedy. I watch it, now you go down and watch it, you go and watch it yourself, and you'll humbly agree, I am sure. Not because I brought it up, or because I didn't, it's got nothing to do with me. It's just not gonna work this way. It's very dangerous, period.
So
And
let me
the
just
others
tell
are-
you at Forward Pinellas that was all talked about, FDOT talked about, and then even after the meeting, Whit and I huddled with FDOT because they were getting ready to act. They had been here, and then I think my meeting was like the next day or the day after, whatever it was. And the problem with putting everybody on the north side is that they're not going to go on the north side. They're going to cross wherever they want, and then there's nothing. And then when they go on the north side and go on into the marina, then they have to cross the marina traffic to get to the park.
You do that now anyway.
I'm just telling you, this was the discussion by the experts. It was the discussions by them, and so I think what they're doing is looking at this as, let's monitor it, let's see what happens, let's see how much the traffic is backing up. I don't disagree, something else needs to be done. I'm not real clear, and I will tell you that I worked really hard with the Edgewater Drive Committee and Forward Pinellas to try to get trucks off of Edgewater and make that a no-truck zone. You have to get the municipalities around you to agree, and Clearwater refused to agree. So I tried to get the trucks, like a semi, so that situation, because it's not really a good road. So that's not an option, but I think we have to give it its chance, and I will talk to Whit and see if he'll work with FDOT to do a study on a busy day, a weekday and then a weekend, and just see what's happening so that somebody's monitoring it, and now's the time to do it while we're in season, So let's see what maybe I can get from that and see what they see.
Mayor, may I?
Yes, ma'am.
We have received complaints about that intersection, and I have observed the same thing myself. Yes.
Because it's back amp traffic?
Right.
Which is why they didn't want it to begin with, but how do you not have a crossing light?
And to Vice Mayor's point, though, I go through it every day, and I, on purpose, and always have, but, I wouldn't do it accidentally, would I? I do it on purpose, but anyway.
I don't know, my mother went around the curve. Trust me, my mother went backwards through that intersection on purpose.
But the point is, and I've observed the same thing as the Vice Mayor, is that, because it's that signal prompted, you could literally not move for 10, 15 minutes because, everybody's crossing, and they get to the island, they cross the other way, and then they come from this way. So I did forward some of those complaints, and there has been some chatter via email between FDOT, and I've asked Jorge to engage FDOT to chat with them a little bit about, at least as some sort of remedy where, like on Skinner, where there's a red light
And
where
I
you can't.
did talk to Inspector, I think I was with you when we talked to Secretary Gwynn. And that was one of the things that I brought forward, that if this wasn't working, right, that what we did on Skinner, that you push a light and then there's a red light, and then you don't get to just go. You have to wait for your light, and that would be at least something that would be more consistent. And it's only pedestrian activated, so it's not going to back up. Right.
And you do not need that. All you have to do is move the people over the other side, situation solved.
Yeah, I think they said that for decades about mid-block crossings too. And they ended up putting in mid-block crossings because you won't change behavior.
And that's what I'm
The
trying to say.
only
They're not
thing
gonna
that
change
I would like to ask,
I totally disagree with you, totally.
Okay.
well, I think there's a death record that'll be different than that. Again,
I
that's-
disagree with you.
Again, that's why we have mid-block crossings. That's why we have them. That's why we have them.
What do you mean why we have them? That's not a mid-cross, you don't have
I'm not
to have
talking
one.
about that one, I'm talking about in general mid-block
I'm-
crossings.
I am telling
We
you
have
that
them
Rich
because
should
people
complain about this.
wouldn't
Okay, well,
cross the street.
let Commissioner Gao finish his thought.
There's no doubt that there's problems there. I would just ask you that you look through that through the lens of a pedestrian. That's all.
Again, I think Forward Pinellas would partner with us and do a little, and FDOT will do a little, whatever they do, they have consultant money, they all do, where you can have somebody out there monitoring at certain times of the day and pedestrian traffic, what's happening with the traffic. I mean, that's what needs to be looked at.
Sooner than later.
Right. For our next steps, and
Thank you.
we'll have to go by, I'll have to go by and look at the light. I didn't know the light was in, but I haven't driven over that way for a little bit. Okay. Well, anybody have anything else they want to bring forward? We have a busy weekend, right? Tomorrow is the Suncoast League, right, tomorrow?
Right.
Luncheon at the golf club, 11:30, we have to be there?
11:30.
Okay, at least it's not 9 or 7:30. I'm a happy camper. And then Saturday, we have the grand opening of Phase 1 of the Gladys Douglas property. It starts at 10, but they suggest because of limited parking to get there early.
There is some stuff going on from 9 to 10 though. Like I think there's like
The
some.
music and refreshments.
Yeah, so you could be there as
Yeah,
early
right,
as 9,
right.
but the program doesn't start until 10.
Right.
So you're not going to be able to walk around the park until after the program. And then Sunday is opening day. Am I missing anything? I think I got everything covered.
I think there's a community chorus concert on Sunday.
Oh, on Sunday, yeah. We will not be there. We'll be
we
singing,
won't.
"Take Me Out to the Bar."
And it's my mother's birthday.
Oh, well, that's an event.
Awesome.
Happy birthday, Mama Gal.
Right.
All right. If nothing else, we will adjourn. Thank you.
Perfect.